Marcus answered his phone on the first ring. Frank, goddamn. I was worried you had already gotten yourself killed. I got a call from Lexa. She said you had some kind of episode. Shut up, Marcus. I don't have time. I'm en route to the location where the ritual will take place, and I need you to listen to me, I told him, cutting him off. There was silence. I took a turn, stopped at a light, glanced at the laptop on the passenger seat. According to that, I was on track. I had to stop at the traffic light, though, because if I got pulled over with the ordinance in my car... I mean, Jesus, I'd have been in prison literally forever. I'm listening, Frank. If I don't call you by noon tomorrow or come by... Actually, no, you know what? Just listen. After this is over, if I'm not still around, I need you to go to my building. In my basement, there's a secret tunnel. You can find it. You've got magic, I guess. I need you to get the equipment out of there and hide it or sell it. I don't care. I trust you. I let the silence hang empty and tense. Frank, you sound like you're gonna die. Please let me come help you. You're not a killer, Marcus. You can barely stomach hurting me to help me when doing medical shit. You'd be a liability, and I need someone outside of this thing that will take care of that stuff. If I get dead, I spat. What the hell is down there, Frank? C4, electronics for bomb making, some very illegal nerve gas, a lot of poisons, grenades, rifles, armor-piercing ammunition, some very illegal technological gadgets, a bunch of flashbangs. There's a lot of C4. There's like 200 or 300 pounds of... Well, I mean, maybe not 200 or 300. I didn't really count. I was busy. Put it like this. If you don't get it out of there and something bad happens, it'll leave a crater in Blackwood. Not a big one, but I mean, it'll still be a crater. Look, I don't have time. Get the shit and hide it. Or sell it to Lexa, I don't give a shit. He paused, and I heard him saying some shit in the background. I didn't bother trying to figure out what he was mumbling. Frank, this is one teenage girl. Why is this so important? Why are you so fucking stubborn about this? He demanded. Because I have to save her. I have to prove that I can do something other than hurt people, goddammit, I hissed. And besides, Marcus, if no one goes after her, if I don't go after her, I have to save her. Listen to yourself, Frank. This isn't Venezuela. This isn't the old days. You're acting fucking obsessed, he said, sounding desperate and angry. How the fuck do you know about Venezuela? I demanded, turning a corner hard and punching the gas. It was getting real near to 11:30. I was sure the ritual would begin sometime around then and peak around midnight. You talk in your sleep, Frank. The few times you slept at my place, the few times I slept at yours, you had nightmares 2 of those times, and you didn't wake up. You were babbling and crying in your sleep, he said softly. Frank, you don't have to do this. So maybe I die. A big, ugly war criminal dies, and a teenager gets to live. No great loss to the world if I go, but she's bright, Marcus. The girl's smart. Dumb decisions, maybe. But sharp as a tack, and she needs me, and I'm not going to let a mistake she made damn her to hell. I paused, words failing me, and then I said softly, I need to do this, Marcus. I can't live with myself if I don't do this. What's the point surviving if I'm dead inside? Frank. Marcus, this case, this world. I don't understand anything anymore. At this point, I don't even know what's real and what isn't. I'm scared and lost, and everything I ever was and everything I am is tainted by a lie all the way down. The only thing I have left is that there's a teenage girl. She's alone, with people who want to do her harm, and I'm the only goddamn one who can do anything about it. I told him, head throbbing. This case took everything from me, Marcus. I didn't even have anything to begin with. Every little truth I thought I had, except for her. Don't try and take this from me, too. If I die tonight, so be it. I'm tired. I don't know what brought that out of me, to be honest. I don't know what was even going on in my head until it tumbled out of my mouth. I just didn't know. I hadn't realized. The second it passed my lips, I knew I'd lost my way. I'd lost everything, and I was holding on to all I had left. Melissa Lee. Pretty, intelligent, overambitious, cocky Melissa Lee. Oh, God, Frank. So this is it. This is it. You call your ex-boyfriend, you dump this all in his lap, and you go march face first into something you can't possibly beat? This is... God damn it. God damn you, Frank. Marcus muttered, sounding sad and angry and tired. I understood. You're a bastard, Frank Silver. You're the best goddamn man I've ever met. Make no mistake, but you are a fucking bastard. Yeah, well, you ain't the first one to tell me that, Marcus. Tell me this, though. What was I poisoned with? On the harpoon? What, do you think I countered the poison? I think you know I was poisoned. I think you did some kind of magic blood work or regular blood work. I think you took samples while I was unconscious. Maybe to find out if I was poisoned, maybe to find out about my biology. I answered quietly. I hate how smart you can be. Usually the pretty ones are so dumb. You were poisoned with a serious mixture of things. More of a cocktail, really. He paused. I heard rummaging, and then he added, It's magically enhanced, according to my notes. Likely to cause paralysis, pain, kidney and liver failure rapidly, tissue damage, increasing heart rate, blurred vision, and then blindness. It's just a mess of bad news, and then you die. Really quickly, too. You seem to be largely immune to poisoning, though, Frank. I didn't do anything to counteract that. Good to know. Never take my blood without asking again. And, goodbye, Marcus. Goodbye, Frank. Oh, God, goodbye. Don't die. Please don't die. Please don't die. Marcus asked me not to die. But I was a bastard, he was right, and I wasn't sure I could fulfill that request. I was also drugged with doses of calming meds, huge doses of stimulants, antibiotics, booze, nicotine, and fuck knows what else. I hadn't eaten in quite a while, except for a breakfast sandwich. Hadn't slept enough. I was still in a lot of pain, too. A lot of pain. I got a second and closed my eyes. Breathe in. This is all you can do. Breathe out. There are worse reasons to die. You have to do this, I told myself. I had to, damn it, in the center of a perfect storm. I had a lot of evil to make up for. I'll try, Marcus. I'll try to stay alive. I'll text you the address. Ignore what I said earlier. I need you to come as fast as you can. If I don't make it, she might need you. Take care of her for me, okay? He started to say something as I hung up on him. I kept behind them by a long margin until they stopped driving somewhere around 11:34. I had 26 minutes. 26 minutes to save a girl's life. We weren't quite at what I would call the outskirts, but we were in an extremely unkind part of the city. We'd already passed dilapidated government housing and several condemned buildings. The people on the streets were either threatening-looking and flying Blackwood Dragons colors, or were varying stages of poor from struggling to homeless. A few alleys I passed showed people standing in them, smoking and exchanging goods. Drugs, probably guns, maybe. Whores sold their own bodily wares on the street corners. Not that I got a problem with that. It was just the sad state of everything, you know? But even that general city life started to fade as I passed into a sort of warehouse district where everything was more derelict and run down. It was dark, and it seemed darker the further I went, with streetlights more spaced out and many of those broken. Darkness was good. It gave me cover. Like any good spook, I tugged my ball cap down and drove right to where the tracker said Harpoon and the cult leader had stopped, and then I drove right past the location. Being particularly clever, I kept my eyes aimed forward, taking the tiniest, quickest sidelong glances when I could. It was a warehouse, assuredly, one that was clearly active. Those buildings around it were almost totally abandoned, it looked like. But the side road where the loading docks were located for my warehouse had 12 goddamn people standing there, maybe more. There could have been more that I couldn't see. The fun part was the fact that about 4 of those people looked like guards. The other 8 were sitting on folding chairs, or standing around with beers, laughing jovially and generally looking unconcerned. It was a night of jubilation for these fuckers. Down the alley on the other side of the building, there were 4 men standing around a pair of double doors. 2 of them had guns. One of them seemed to have a wand in his hand, held loosely. I'm not joking. The other one was holding a fucking Corona, and it looked like he was celebrating the culmination of their efforts a little bit early, just like his leader had been. Seriously, the guy was barely standing. Probably wasn't his first beer, is all I'm saying. Past them, 2 guys lazily smoked while leaning against the wall on the other side of a single entry door. It occurred to me as I rolled on, as if I wasn't interested in them, never slowing below the normal speed of somebody driving in that part of the city, that I could feel something. There was a pressure in my head that seemed to emanate from the warehouse itself. It was kind of like what I felt when Ellie was bewitching the ladies at Firestorm. Except instead of being intimidating and slightly arousing, this one came with an extremely powerful urge to look away from the warehouse that barely edged into my mind. No wonder, no wonder I thought that they didn't take even a second glance at my SUV after they peered at it the first time and saw that I wasn't slowing and I wasn't staring at them. They had some kind of magic on the building designed to make people uninterested in it, to make them, not record memory of it, maybe, or whatever. Like what Lexa did down in the Vale, in the Under the Vale bar. An aversion, she called it. At the end of the block, I turned right, heading away from the warehouses. First road that came after that, parallel to the warehouse road, I turned right again and drove until I found an alley that I could fit the SUV in. It was tight, but there was just enough room for me to force my big ass out. Of the SUV, that is. Standing in that dark alley, I felt like I was in the deep black of outer Rio de Janeiro, back when I was, tracking down some stolen artwork for a very high-money client that the PMC ran security for. In the pitch black, I opened up the back of the SUV and stripped out of literally everything. For a moment, I kept my eyes shut and just took a breath or two. Trying to keep my head on straight, you know? Something shifted behind me, and I turned around in only my boxers. A pair of guys stood in the mouth of the alleyway, staring at me. They were, without question, considering the idea of robbing me. Both of them were in gang colors. Now, I'm standing here in my underwear, in the middle of the night, in front of an SUV loaded with guns. Do you two really want to do this right now? Because I promise if you do, I will make it very quick. I told them, keeping my tone as neutral as possible. They blinked a few times and looked at each other. A few seconds later, I could see them exchange a nope without saying anything, and then they politely fucked right off. Imagine that. I got dressed. Long-sleeve t-shirt, comfortable but well-fitted battle dress pants, torso armor, balaclava, combat helmet. In case I get, shot in the head or something. My boots were stiff, having not been worn in a long time, but I knew they'd loosen up fast. A bandolier of grenades and magazines for the rifle went on next, followed by the machete at my hip opposite my cannon. Last but not least, I hung my extremely custom silenced rifle on its sling and slid out the anti-ballistic shield. I was ready to go. And at the same time, I was completely terrified. I mean, magic. Those fuckers had magic. And they had a military man calling the shots for guard placement, and I was fairly sure that they probably had people on the roof of the building that I hadn't been able to see in the SUV. But they didn't have a medium to long range suppressed rifle and plenty of practice using the rifle at that range. I figured that to use magic, they were going to have to know where I was. And even if I opened fire on them, these guys weren't all military. They'd panic. And even though a suppressed rifle isn't a whisper, like it is in the movies, it'd be quiet enough. They'd panic. And panic was good. I shut the SUV, locked it, and took a deep breath. Staying calm was important. I had to be ready for anything. Be hyper-aware of my surroundings, and generally make sure nobody got the drop on me because, let's be real, if anybody got the drop on me, I was probably gonna die. Once I was sure I had my zen on and my kung fu was strong, I made my way across the street and along a condemned building to a different alleyway that would give me a very open view of the warehouse's loading dock side. It also happened to be extremely dark in that alley, which, well gosh, that served me just fine. The people sitting in the folding chairs, the ones that were holding beers, they would be my last targets. Because of the alcohol, they'd probably be the last ones to get running. People who didn't have beers would be second to last. The people standing needed to die before them, the farthest ones away first, of course. There were a lot of factors. The 4 guards were either farthest away or somewhere near middle distance as far as the group was concerned. I was no more than 100 yards from the farthest man, though, and I was no slouch in terms of marksmanship. I inhaled and exhaled several times, getting myself relaxed, letting what I learned from my father take over. He taught me guns before I ever got trained, even. Get calm, get comfortable. Eradicate all thought but a single focused goal. Breathe in and out, get things slowed down. And when you've filled your lungs good and deep a few times, and sighted up on your first target, shoot when your lungs are empty, and then without filling your lungs, make use of your magazine and fire again. Through the scope on the rifle, I watched the farthest guard's face. And then I pulled the trigger. In the space of 12 seconds, I fired 16 shots and killed 12 men. And I was pretty okay with that. Actually, I was a little disappointed it took 16 shots. Honestly, it should have only taken 12 shots. There were 12 men. But hey, In my defense, I had been poisoned, I had a hole in my side, and I had gone through some very traumatic revelations and almost been set on fire. So, I feel like I feel like I did alright, Fast as I could, I got my ass up and started walking, changing the 3/4 empty magazine for one that wasn't quite so empty. I made it back to the road my SUV was parked on, jogged down to an alleyway 2 over from my first shooting position, and, then it was second verse, same as the first. Set up, breathe in, exhale, fire 8 times, kill 6 people. There's no point making a show of it, because ultimately it was a letdown in terms of being interesting. I know people think, oh man, somebody kills 20 people or whatever, but gosh, that's gotta be fascinating to know. I mean, if you're good at what you do, sometimes it's really boring. It's not interesting to watch. I shot, they died. It doesn't matter how much magic you got. If a bullet catches you in the temple, you're dead. Most things are dead. 70 to 75% of things are dead if they catch a bullet in the temple. Maybe. Either way, I waited a full minute. Waited for anybody to move or drop down from the roof or shine a spotlight or anything, but they didn't. And, I didn't have time to futz around. It was time to move.